Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you guys have been doing alright since I posted my last video, which I guess was a little over a week ago. I know in my last video it was a lot of negativity. I was sort of at my rope's end, and I was just really down in the dumps back then. I know I kind of was just ranting in my last video, but I guess I'll just start off with what I've been doing over the last week, how I've broken out of my funk a little bit since then. Um, Over the weekend, me and a couple friends, we went to go visit another friend who got a brand new apartment, which is right across New York City, right across the water. You can actually, you have a great view of the city from his apartment. He's going to be commuting to school, so he's actually got a decent price on the apartment. So we went to visit him on Saturday, and then after we visited his place for a bit, we went to New York City. We went out to some club, danced, got drunk, all that good stuff, and it was a good time. I'm not going to lie. Actually, I felt comfortable. I know part of that was the alcohol, part of that was because I wasn't foggy. I actually felt my body, everything felt right on Saturday. But I'm not going to fret over the little details. The bottom line is I had a good time, I felt good. It was a good experience, and there's no doubt that definitely helped to bring me out of this funk. Now, it's not the only thing that's changed since then. I guess hitting rock bottom in a way has sort of helped change my perspective on some things, or at least things I need to do for myself. And so in a way it was almost, I don't want to say it was good to get that down on myself, but it sort of opened my eyes to some things. And there's a couple of things I want to share with you in this video. I know, a lot of my recent videos have just sort of been things going on in my life. My experience with my dad, and I forget what else happened in my previous videos. But today I want to talk about two pieces of helpful advice that I hope can help some of you out there. Not even just with social anxiety, with brain fog, with whatever issue you might be dealing with in your life. It doesn't even have to be mental illness. And the two phrases I'm going to coin right now are the quick switch and staying neutral. And, let me just say that I understand, if I was listening to myself make this video, it almost sounds like kind of like a gimmick. Like, like sometimes you go to like a therapist and they'll sort of give you these little, I guess you can call them activities, which are supposed to help you, and they don't really help. So, let me just start off by saying I know it sounds like these might be kind of like, they might be things that are too, it's great in theory, but does it actually work? Does it actually apply? And I understand that. And the thing is, with any piece of advice I give, or any piece of advice that anybody gives, it's not going to fit, the piece is not going to fit directly into your puzzle. You're going to have to figure out how that piece works. Hold on one second. My car is having issues today. But again, you're going to have to figure out how that piece works for you. So even if you can't, whatever advice I give doesn't help you directly, you have to figure out how you can apply, 80% of it, 60% of it, even a tiny portion of that advice, and maybe it can help you in that way. That's what it is. I mean, it all comes down to how, we're all individual people. We're all different, and I know I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but it all, things that work for certain people are not going to work for other people. So just bear that in mind. I know this is going to sound silly, but again, the quick switch and staying neutral. And, these things, they're relatively simple in theory, but they have really helped me over the last week or so in sort of getting myself back together. And let me first start with the quick switch. And if you're also wondering why I coin these weird phrases, I guess it's because it helps you to remember them. I guess sometimes I feel like, sometimes when you're reading a lot of information at once, it's hard to sort of, for it to all sink in and for you to sort of apply it on the fly. You kind of like, you're trying to think back to what you were reading, and it's sort of like, sometimes you just need those magic words or that magic phrase where you just say, that's what I need to do, or that's what I was trying to remember. So the quick switch, what that basically means is that, in a sense, it means not being stubborn. And really what the quick switch is all about is not getting too bogged down when you're trying to do something, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's helpful or not. If things aren't going your way, just switch to doing something else. And I'm going to give you an example to sort of better illustrate this, because I know I'm not explaining it very well. But for example, for me with the brain fog, which some of you may or may not have who are watching this video, there were just sometimes I can't think, and I can't do work. For example, trying to do schoolwork. For example, trying to make videos or respond to people. Sometimes it could be a very difficult task for me, personally. And, when you think about it, it's not like I'm trying to do the wrong thing. It's not like, I'm not saying if you're, taking drugs, or if you're, I don't know, doing something bad, that you should sort of get away from that. That's not the point of this. It's that even if your intentions are good, even if you're trying to do the right thing, you may sometimes need to get away from things. So, for example, with me, with the brain fog, when I'm really struggling to do something, today even, I was trying to, my mom made a suggestion that I should make this list of symptoms so I can give to my doctors when I go to see them, because it's hard for me to articulate exactly, what's wrong with me in a couple of, sentences or paragraphs. So she suggested putting this list together, printing it out, and giving it to them. And, even just coming up with these symptoms, I was getting bogged down. I was trying to finish it, all today. And, it was like the brain fog was starting to affect me, and I really couldn't put my ideas into words. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go run. That's it. So, and in the past, for me, I've always been a type of person where, I'm always trying to do everything 100%. Especially with all this social anxiety and depression, it's sometimes like you get so down on yourself, and then you sort of do the opposite. You get so motivated where you try to go 100%. You try to, overexert yourself to the point where it's unsustainable. You can't sustain the effort. You can't sustain the drive to keep going. But for me, I would always try to, even when I had the brain fog, even when I had these issues and it was difficult for me to do things, I would try to push through it. And I end up getting depressed. I would end up getting frustrated. It wasn't smart of me to do. So now, I've really sort of learned to buy into this idea of the quick switch, because, it's just something that I need to do personally when I'm getting frustrated, when things are not going my way, when they're tough. Just do something else. Something good. Whether it could be as simple as getting up and eating something, eating a piece of fruit. Yesterday I went outside and I just sat in my backyard and just relaxed. Things like that. Again, it may not work for some of you, but for me, personally, it has helped in the sense that, I'm not getting bogged down anymore. I'm not sort of getting stuck in that mode where I'm frustrating myself or I'm being unproductive. If it's not working out, I switch. And it doesn't mean I give up. It doesn't mean I know, for some people it may not work because you end up procrastinating, or you're not getting things done because you're not finishing anything. You start something and then you're like, I can't do this, let me switch. But for me, it's not like that, it's just finding the time when I'm able to function, when I'm feeling good, when I know that I can do it, just not being afraid to try things. Even coming back to having to do that, I'm not going to be afraid I struggled to do that yesterday. Just try it. And if it doesn't work out, you move on and then you come back to it. It's sort of having the ebb and flow, the back and forth in life to know when you need to switch things up, when you need to do something else. Again, not even, from a productivity sense, you can think of it, okay, I'm not being productive, let me try to be productive in another way. But even just sort of, keeping yourself from getting too negative, getting too down on yourself, I think it's good to be able to know when to move on from things. And I should move on from this topic because I've dwelled on it too long. The other thing I want to touch about briefly is staying neutral. And that to me might be one of the most important things that I've come to realize recently, is that I just need to stay neutral. Not be optimistic, not be depressed, not be even hopeful. Any of those emotions that sort of take me out of this neutral zone, I don't want those. And the reason for that is, look, my life is obviously not where I want it to be right now. There are a lot of goals that I haven't achieved. There are a lot of things that I wish that could be different in my life, and they're not. And so, having said that, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a bit. You don't want to sort of, and I know it sounds simple in theory, but you don't want to get too optimistic or too hopeful about things, because you're only going to come crashing down later. And again, that sounds very simple, but I think staying neutral is important, because you can get by being neutral. I guess that's what I'm really trying to get. You can get by being neutral. You don't always have to be healthy. You don't need to feel good. You don't need to accomplish things. I'm the type of person where I'm always trying to accomplish something. I'm always trying to push that extra half mile. It's almost like you're trying to find a feel-good mechanism here. Where you're trying to almost satisfy yourself, and you don't need to do that. For example, when I go running a lot of times, I'll always start at a comfortable pace. I'm not overexerting myself, but it's like toward the end of the run, I always end up kicking. I always end up pushing myself and then being exhausted by the end of the run. And it's like, you think about it, in the big scheme of things, what is that really accomplishing? This kick at the end. I don't need to do that in order to be productive, in order to get out of this what I need to get out of it. Just stay neutral. And I know in a way that sounds like setting your sights really low. It's like, not having goals, not having aspirations. That's not what I'm trying to get at. I'm just trying to convey the idea that it's okay to be neutral. It's okay to not be happy or not be sad. You could just be in the middle. Get by. I know what a lot of us are just trying to do, is just trying to get by. We want to make our lives better. But, for where I am in my life right now, where, again, I'm sure a lot of you are in a similar position, I feel like I'm in phase 1, where it's like I'm sort of getting myself together. I'm sort of, I need to tackle some of these issues, but I'm in the beginning phase. I'm not ready to sort of think too far into the future. I'm not ready to sort of set big aspirations. I know what I want out of life. My goals are lofty. It's the things that I wanted before, when I was, super depressed and frustrated. Those things haven't changed. It's just now that, just going day to day, I don't need to be anything more than neutral. And to go along with that, if something bad does happen, just bring it back to neutral. It's so hard to put on spin on things when things go really bad. For example, if you have a bad day at work, you have a panic attack, you're just feeling really shitty. It's so hard to spin things like if a therapist tells you, or a friend, it's okay, everything's fine. It's really not. To be honest, things are not fine. But you know what? Don't spin things don't spin things in a positive light. Just bring it neutral. Do not overfeel. And I know that's a very hard thing to do. But I think it's a lot easier when your goal isn't to try to make yourself feel better. You're not trying to be happy. You're not trying to put a spin on your life where everything's okay. Sometimes, if you're feeling really down, you're feeling really frustrated, things are not working out, make the quick switch. Do something that'll either make you feel better, or just something that will put you in a better place. And then stay neutral. Try to bring yourself back to that neutral zone. Not even so much that comfort zone, because I know for a lot of us that comfort zone isn't exactly where we need to be. For a lot of us, our comfort zone is being by ourselves, being on the computer, not socializing. But just bring yourself to a neutral zone, and just, realize that that's enough for now. It's not the be-all, end-all of things. I'm not saying that, this is something that's going to work, over the long term. But, at least for me right now, being sort of in the early stages of this journey, I'm content on being neutral. I'm content on just, everything that's happened in the past, everything that might happen in the future, forget that. I just want to be neutral at the present moment. So, that's it for this video. I also want to first apologize for, being so spotty with these videos. My family, specifically my grandparents, are back now, and they're constantly on their foot. And literally, I've tried to sneak away to make videos, and they're just always in the area, and I don't really feel comfortable shooting it around them, shooting videos out around them, obviously. But I'm going to try to coming right now. I'm back at the park I go to run, so I'm going to try to come here once in a while and shoot some videos, stuff like that. And also, this second thing, I really do want to apologize for some of you that have either left comments for me or have sent me messages in my inbox. You know, I'm not going to pretend to be the most dedicated person. I'm not going to pretend that, you know, being depressed and all these issues I'm going through, I'm not going to pretend that they're excuses as to why, you know, it takes me so long to respond or I don't respond at all. Honestly, it really is hard for me sometimes to respond. It's just the brain fog. I mean, recently, I don't even get on the computer some days because it just seems to tire me out even more than usual. But I do want you guys to know that, you know, I do appreciate the comments. I will get, you know, back to everybody. You know, I do feel bad when it does take me time to get back to you, or, you know, sometimes like today I was trying to, like, I watched a couple of videos and I was planning to leave comments for some other bloggers, and it was just like my head was so scrambled. I'm like, you know what? Let me switch it up. Let me go run. Hopefully I can come back to this, be more articulate, and respond. But I just want to apologize for that, and that's about it. So, like I said, I hope you guys have been doing alright, and I'll see you in my next video.